Welcome, SciCommers, to our April 2024 Mentor Chat. Today, we are joined by Darcy Shapiro, fellow SciCommer and editorial director for PBS Eons, Bizarre Bees, and Journey to the Microcosms. From capturing attention from YouTube to TikTok, today we'll chat with Darcy on how she keeps the complex universe educational and engaging. And so, Darcy, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me, and thanks for that introduction. Yeah, that's who I am. I'm Darcy, and I work for Complexly, and mostly for PBS Eons, Bizarre Beasts, and Journey to the Microcosmos. So I'm the editorial director of the channels that are not SciShow, Crash Course, and Study Hall. Yeah, just excited to be here and to chat with you all today about whatever you want to hear about.
So I have a question on sort of balancing education and entertainment. So what is like the thought process on sort of keeping the episodes within a time limit, but making sure that there is enough nuance to the topics that you cover, that it gives kind of a full picture of that topic?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. Since I work on so many different shows, they all kind of have like a little bit of a different take on this and a little bit of a different process. Um, Journey to the Microcosmos is a weird little channel about microscopy. We're sunsetting it at the end of the year, but it's been a good like 5 or 6 year run, though I've only worked on it for about a year. And that channel they're as long as they need to be, basically. We work with a microscopist, and it's kind of dependent on what footage he gets, and like what he can identify in it and what interesting story there is to tell about that footage. And then Bizarre Beasts, I've been the writer for that show basically since it became its own channel. And we were kind of given a brief of like 5 to 7 minutes for those. So for those, the storytelling is usually like there's got to be like one bigger kind of mystery thing that has to get explained, and then some kind of accessory tentpole weird facts about whatever animal we decided to cover for that month. So that one is kind of also a little bit more constrained. And then Eons is another one where, in theory, they're supposed to be about 10 minutes, but sometimes the topic is bigger and sometimes we go a little bit longer. I don't know. I think the guiding principle for me is that the story should be as long as it needs to be. But also, and especially on Eons, I work with a lot of folks who are academics of some sort. And I think and I used to be one, and there's a temptation there to want to be incredibly thorough, right? To go like literature review style to make sure you're not missing anything. And one of the things I've had to like learn through working at Complexly is like, you don't always need all that. The story is the most important thing. And that's kind of where the balancing of entertainment and education comes in. We obviously never want to say anything that's like wrong, but telling a particular story sometimes means cutting out things that like are interesting but are not, driving the narrative forward. That was a bit of a rambly answer, but working on like so many different channels, they're all like a little bit different.
Yeah, I can imagine. Does anyone in the audience have any questions they want to ask? You can add them to the chat or you can say them out loud, which is perfectly fine. Otherwise, I'll keep talking. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
I've got a random question for you. So how do you balance like maybe it's like a complexity question in general, but is complexity contracted through PBS to work on this type of thing, or is it kind of a mutual money raising through grants, or how is all this stuff funded?
It's funded in a lot of different ways, and it differs from channel to channel, team to team. So Eons is co-produced with PBS. PBS gives us contracts essentially for seasons of that, for a certain number of episodes per season. But we also, okay, that's the main one for that. And then Bizarre Beast is largely supported by the Pin Club. It has like a monthly merch kind of component to it, which it's a little bit unique in that way. And it's been a bit of an experiment supporting a channel like that. Microcosms, I think, is a completely internal project and is probably also merch and AdSense as well. And then, you know, like, I know less about the other teams since I don't work on those shows, but Crash Course works on grants. SciShow gets a lot of sponsorships. It's like there's like a whole financial pie to working at a YouTube company. And a lot of the channels break down in different ways, but most of what I work on is PBS contracts, sponsorships, merch, and YouTube AdSense.
Darcy, how did you move from your PhD to working for Complexly?
Well, when I was finishing my PhD, I definitely had a sense that I did not want to be a professor. What was I doing there in the first place? That's an excellent question. I still don't have an answer. But I kind of wanted to go in more of like a natural history museum direction. And I kind of saw science communication, building like a bit of a science communication background and portfolio as like a potential way to kind of bridge those two worlds, which honestly, more or less successful. The museum world is its own kind of weird job market bubble. But I had done ComSciCon, the science communication convention run by grad students for grad students. I guess they're kind of a big thing now. I did 10 years ago, and I think the second one they did. So I had done that and got connected to Massive Science through that, which is now a defunct science news website. That was an experiment run by mostly ComSciCon folks in like teaching grad students and early career academics how to write for the public, and paying a little to do it, which I wish it was still around. It was a fun time. So I had a little bit of a portfolio from writing for them. And then one day on Twitter, I saw a post from PBS Eons, which I had never heard of. I was not really I did not know the Hank Green, John Green universe. Complexly, who was that? I don't know. But I saw a post looking for people who had some experience writing for the public, and some background in natural history. And I said, hey, that's me. I was adjuncting at the time at Rutgers, which, if any of you are adjuncting, doesn't pay very well. So you're always looking for more side hustles. And yeah, I just filled out an application, became a freelance writer for Eons, and then became a part-time editor for Eons. And then we got asked to develop a human anatomy and physiology show that ended up kind of dying in the early pandemic, as so many things did. But working on that and working on Eons was enough for Complexity to bring me on full-time in a role I think we were calling content manager at the time. But yeah, I got a foot in the door as a freelancer and kind of clung to it until it became something full-time.
Hi, Darcy. I'm Chanel. My question is that something that you would recommend for someone that's trying to get into science media to go the freelance route? Like, is there a trajectory, or is that just something that you did because you found the opportunity and you just jumped at it?
I mean, I think that's the thing I always say for folks that want to get into it is you have to have some kind of portfolio of your work. You have to have something that demonstrates that you have something in the realm of the experience that you're looking for. Going full-time freelance is a really difficult thing, and is something that I'm personally glad I never had to do. And I know a lot of folks do find success that way. But I think writing, for a Complexly show as a freelancer is a good way to get a foot in the door. I don't know. I think if you have, I guess, opportunities in, your grad program or something like that to do this kind of SciComm writing and to build a portfolio in a way that's more like supported than freelance often is, then that's a really good route. I don't know. I feel like you just got to try and take whatever opportunities you can see to build the portfolio and get paid for it. I definitely had like I'm not doing things for free while adjuncting rule.
Hi, Darcy. I am excited to talk to you. I'm sorry, I'm like distracted, but I wanted to go off of that. So right now I'm in a science writer position, but it's more for like science audiences. So if you're at that point, whatever you find in grad school, since a lot of people write for their press offices or in your own career, but you're interested in general audiences, is there anything that we should try to do, or is it kind of one of those like any science writing is a good portfolio?
It kind of depends on what you're aiming for, right? If you want to do the kind of YouTube-y thing where the audience is very much just kind of the general public, you definitely want to hone your skills in that direction. But working for your university's press office or something like that is like obviously a step in the direction. I don't know. I don't have a great answer to that, just because like I feel like everybody that ends up in a science communication position, it gets there through some kind of weird, unique path. And I only know the weird way that I stumbled through it. I'm sorry, that's not a great answer, but
Hello, hi, Darcy. I might have missed it because I just found I could put the captions on, so now it's helpful. But anyway, what did you say that you do now? And you said that you do the freelance with other things. So what is your full-time job? I missed that part.
yeah, my full-time job is as the editorial director for we call it the greenhouse at Complexly. So it's all of the shows that we make that are not Crash Course, SciShow, or Study Hall. We used to call it the Island of Misfit Toys because it's all the little weird niche channels.
And then also, as a fellow SciCommer and looking for a job, what would you say type of titles to look for to do like content and digital media?
This is a weird one. I feel like, science communication as a field has come such a long way over the last 10 years, but at the same time, I feel like it still hasn't quite crystallized into like standard job titles that you might be searching for. It's like every organization that wants somebody that's doing science communication wants them to be doing different things, all of the things, and calling it something different. So I don't know, science writer, content manager sometimes. I don't know. I feel like I've just seen like so many different kinds of job titles for that. I don't know. When we post for Complexly things, Complexly has like a jobs page that we're always posting, and it's usually like we're almost always looking for freelance writers of various sorts for different channels. Freelance fact checkers come up pretty often. Sometimes we hire freelance script editors, not a ton. And then if your talents lean more toward the like technical production, video production side, our titles are like video editor or producer or some shade of like, associate producer or something like that. I don't know. We've tried to standardize more towards, I think, kind of like a media company set of titles, but I don't know. The wild world of science communication job titles is still like huge.
Yes, thank you so much, Darcy.
We have a question in the chat. Okay, so our question from the chat, they're wondering if you could speak to any of the challenges you found in your transition from academia from academia to sort of freelancing and then to Complexly. And for more context, maybe about some of the pacing or like working on a team or how goals or priorities have shifted through that transition.
Sure. I guess the biggest thing that's different, okay, there are a couple of big things that are different between working in academia and working for Complexly, or anything I think that is not academia. A lot of it is like time scale and pace. You know, academia is like glacial, right? You're writing a paper and it's going to come out like 9 months from now if you're lucky and you get reviewers that are like relatively quick. Whereas when I was like freelancing for Eons, kind of in the early days, I would, you know, write a script and then 2 weeks later it would be a video and it would be on YouTube. And like that turnaround is like it's a completely different world. Other challenges come in the kind of writing and storytelling space. I talked about it a little bit earlier of like, you know, as an academic, you want everything you do to be like comprehensive and thorough and like make sure you didn't miss that niche paper from like 1903. Whereas for me now, the priority is like, what is a good story that we can tell that is still accurate? And the science is like as good as we can make it, but it doesn't have to be the entire world of a particular topic. I guess those are two big things. I guess another thing, the work style obviously changed a lot. You know, I was in an academic department first as a PhD student and then as an adjunct, same department for like 10 years. So that was like a pretty tight community. These are pre-pandemic times, you know, we were in the office a lot. And then I got this job full-time in December of 2019. And I also moved from New Jersey to California, basically in that time, for my husband's academic job. And my job now is full-time remote. And these two work environments are obviously polar opposite. And I think it's a transition that Complexly has made recently, is towards hiring a lot more remote folks, which I think it's like half of the company now, at least, is not based in our Missoula or our Indy offices. Which means, I don't know, we're all mostly like millennial or Gen Z, so all of us are very comfortable doing like Zoom meetings and things like that and trying to kind of like build a cohesive team that way. But that's, I would say, another big difference from being in academia to working like this. Oh, Chanel, you had another question.
Yeah, it's me again. So Complexly has a lot of different shows, right? And works with PBS very closely. When you guys develop a new show or when you have new ideas for a new show, the ones that are not the bigger ones, how does that work? Like, do you guys have to pitch to PBS and say, hey, we've got a new idea for a new show? Are they vetted? Like, do you get a special, because you guys are already on PBS? Like, what's that process like about getting a new show on PBS?
Okay, there are kind of a couple of different processes that are happening here. For Eons is the show that I work on that works most closely with PBS. So all of the Eons content universe, the TikTok, the podcast, the YouTube show, those are all kind of like worked out through PBS contracts. And oftentimes they will tell us, like, I don't know, when TikTok got really big, they were kind of like, oh, we're interested in seeing, like, can you expand that way? Like, you know, here's a contract, try it out. Same deal with when they wanted a podcast. They were like, okay, here's what we're thinking. We have some other big stuff kind of in the works with them right now that I can't really talk about, but like could be really big and cool. So there's that. So that's kind of like, they basically tell us what they have funding for and what they want, and we come up with an idea that we think could work for them, and like pitch it to them a little. We've worked with them for so long, and like Eons has done so well that it's a pretty like mutual kind of development relationship at this point. For other shows, starting new projects like internally at Complexly, we have like an internal pitch process where if we have ideas, we have basically, we come up with like, okay, what is the concept of the show? What do we think the format is going to be like? Who would be working on it? What would a budget look like? A couple of episode ideas. And we can pitch internally like that. And then we also have kind of the like bigger senior leadership company priorities where they're like, we're interested in maybe doing something like this, like in this space. Like, and they hand it to us and they're like, what would you do with this? And then we kind of like pitch back to our own senior leadership. Yeah, the pitching is kind of like who has the money or who has the idea, and how do we like have kind of a dialogue about it. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of development lately, and honestly, it's just like I have no more good ideas. Leave me alone for the year.
On the topic of development, so where is that? I have a question written down. So how is there like a drafting structure for episodes, and I guess specifically for the non-Eons shows?
Ooh, Eons has a very we have worked it out, like it has like classic formats at this point, like that it has a whole guide. I love making documentation for things, and like coming up with like how to talk about Eons was kind of a joy at one point. Microcosmos runs on vibes.
Okay.
That's the structure, is what footage. Okay. One way to think about this might be that my three big shows occupy a spectrum from like editorial first to footage first. Eons, freelancers or our staff writer pitches the idea, we come up with the whole story, we hand it to production, they make it look good. Microcosmos comes all from our microscopist. He takes the footage of the weird little squishy guys and he, says what's going on in here and hands it back to our freelance writer, Deboki, who's amazing. And she comes up with something, a story that fits what's going on in the microscopy universe. So those are like very, very loose. What is the organism doing, or what kind of like bigger question can we think about while looking at the little squishy guys? Bizarre Beast sits right in the middle. I work with our producer, Sarah Suda. I say like, hey, this is a really weird animal. Here's a really weird thing it does. And she goes, okay, has anyone ever gotten footage of this thing that we can potentially use to make a video? And like for that show, if there's no footage, it's a no-go. Like the cookie cutter shark is our great white whale for that show. Like one guy who worked for a dive outfit in Hawaii, his name is Steve, does not want to be contacted. He is the one who has the cookie cutter shark footage. And yeah, the structure of working for that is basically, it's a little bit vibes. It's like, we need a hook for the intro. We need like the big mystery to explain, which really that show is just me pushing an evolutionary biology agenda disguised behind weird animals. And then like, a couple other good facts to flesh out the whole thing.
And do you guys always sort of get the episode ideas internally, or are there avenues for sort of like audience suggestions or requests, I guess?
People do request. We've got, one guy in the comments on Eons who is always like, do an episode about when India was an island. I'm like, it's coming, friend. But yeah, I mean, we have a Patreon for that. So, patrons will suggest things. We do sometimes have researchers reach out to us and say like, hey, we've got something cool and big coming out. Like, do you want to work with us on it? Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. So we do talk to audiences, I guess, a bit.
Before I ask another, does anyone have another question before I keep going?
I do.
Okay.
I'm wondering what sort of skills are sought after in this line of work, skills or experience? Like, is there software skills, storyboarding and design skills? What are you looking for most often?
Oh, most often.
Or what's
Um,
hardest to find?
Yeah, I can't speak so much to the production side of things. Complexities teams and shows are basically split into two sides. Editorial side, which is the words, the scripting, the fact checking, all of that, and then the production side, which is the video side. So I know they want a particular set of technical skills. I don't know what they are because I don't have them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a medical editor currently. But my background, I was a science teacher for many years, and my favorite things to do are popular science and making science accessible and clear and fun. But because my only editing experience beyond the editing I did as a teacher, my only editing experience is in medical editing, I seem sort of boxed in there.
Yeah, I mean, for like our script editor and writer positions, I think it's probably a little bit about kind of selling yourself in the cover letter, as so many job application
Okay.
things are. I personally, like when I'm like, my team is small. I have a I have a script editor and I have a staff writer. The other teams are a lot bigger. And the staff writer was somebody who started as a freelancer for Eons and has now also become a full-time position for him. And our staff writer, I would say the things that I'm looking, sorry, the script editor, the things that I'm looking for script editors for my shows, it's like 100% about story and like
Okay.
how can you turn how can you see the things in a pitch that are important? Can you see if they're there? And then if you were given kind of like a rough script that has specific kind of like development issues, would you be able to identify and figure out a way to solve them?
I see. How does
yeah.
someone manage to prove that though?
So after the like general kind of submit a cover letter and application step, after we've kind of weeded that down, we do edit tests for script editors. Give them some pitches, give them a rough draft, and see kind of where they go with it. They're meant to be small enough that they don't take a huge amount of time, and they're not scripts that we're gonna use. They're like old drafts. Yeah.
I love it when there's an editing test, because even though it takes time, you get to show what you could do. So no argument there.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how you would hire an editor without doing that. Like we talked about it the last time we were doing a script editor hire. It was kind of like, is there a way that a person can demonstrate their editing in some kind of like application materials? And I mean, people have linked things that they're like, oh, I edited this. And the problem with that is that like, if you're a good script editor, your work is invisible. And like, how do you?
Yeah, you need a before and an after.
Yeah, I know. And some folks have that, a lot of folks don't. But it's something that we've talked about using as part of the hiring process, rather than having people necessarily do a script edit.
Awesome. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. I was just wondering, especially with all the different shows that you work on, how you work with the different algorithms on, TikTok or YouTube or like those types of platforms. Like, how do you work with that to like expand your reach and who's actually getting to see the videos?
The algorithms are a constant source of struggle. They change. They are black boxy. There's like a couple of ways that you kind of start to like pick up what the algorithm wants at any given time. One of it is like, obviously, Eons, we used to upload every week, and then we did it 3 weeks on and 1 week off, and now we've switched to kind of an every other week schedule. We have like a lot of data there essentially to see over time what episodes have done well, what upload cadence does well. For a long time, the YouTube algorithm really liked consistency. So uploading consistently, even just weekly. Views matter. View duration probably matters more now. There's definitely a shift towards longer content doing really well. So some of it is kind of like you just like observe the trends in a really frustratingly passive way. Some of it is like, YouTube has like their kind of, they have like a creator channel or something like that where they, have somebody that at YouTube who's like, hey, we've made some kind of changes to the algorithm. We're like really interested in what people are doing on short form now. And you can kind of like gauge how things are going that way. YouTube's analytics in the back end are incredible. Like a pet project of mine would be to get somebody to really like get into the old data and analytics that we have for Eons and like see over trends over time. But that's like the former academic life interest of me. Okay, so we watch it. We see what the YouTube folks are actually saying. There are some number of YouTube creators who kind of like do this. This is like their niche, is like, what do we think the algorithm is doing now? Chasing Mr. Beast is always like a thing. I saw him tweet over the weekend that he's swinging back away from these like quick, fast cuts and short videos and leaning into storytelling and trying to, it was very like, you're the one that made it this way. Like now you're like, okay, we're going the other way. That's the YouTube algorithm. You can kind of figure out. TikTok, you're just like, I don't know. I put something on there and we'll see what happens. We had like pretty good TikTok numbers initially for Eons. Things have kind of leveled out a lot there. And I don't know if it's just like platform growth or they've kind of like deprioritized their like learning partnerships, or there's like all of those kinds of things. YouTube introducing shorts and then pushing it really hard has done something to the algorithm there. That's kind of created two distinct audiences. There's like the shorts watching audience and then the longs watching audience, and they seem to be pretty different, and getting people to go back and forth between the two is really hard. Yeah, we have like a new position at Complexity that we recently hired that I think is now what is called content manager. That's like a person that's looking at the analytics kind of overall for the company and like looking at best practices for that. So hopefully she'll come up with some good insights. But yeah, it's an ever moving target that is also like shrouded in mystery.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I think going off of that, you mentioned some different strategies that you had for working with and around the algorithms. Are there also sort of different strategies for sharing the same content on different platforms?
You mean like cross-posting, or you mean like taking the same topic and doing like a YouTube video versus a TikTok?
Same topic, YouTube video versus a TikTok.
Yes, different narrative strategies, 110%. We were part of like the TikTok learning partnership a while back, and our partner managers were always like hammering in the first like 5 seconds of the video, you have to have a hook. Like it's like, man, okay, TikTok is like the radio, right? You have to get people to not scroll away, versus YouTube is like TV where you have to get people to pick it, basically. So like the strategies for this are different. You have a little bit of a longer time on YouTube to get to your hook, versus TikTok or Shorts where it's got to be right there immediately.
And sticking to social media, have there been sort of different strategies for meeting your audience with I don't want to say downfall, that's such a negative word, but how like some social medias have sort of changed how they work. Like Twitter is fundamentally different, to me at least, than it was even a year ago.
Yeah.
and TikTok may not be here in a year from now, who knows? Are there conversations about how to sort of move from meeting your audience there to different platforms?
Like, yes.
Mhm.
I mean, the choice to expand onto and use a different platform or a different format is like, I don't know, maybe the most obvious kind of like move to find the new audience. I mean, the creation of like OTT streaming services is like, I think that a place that is moving towards now. You know, everybody has an app. Get on the PBS app and watch all the PBS stuff. The kind of like fracturing of that is, it's like a little bit frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. Complexity's kind of mission is like to meet people where they are in terms of both like learning and in terms of physically platform. Where are you online? So I think that, yeah, it's something that like our senior folks are always thinking about. How do we reach more people in more places? Hank obviously really cares about that. So
and switching gears, has there been anything while you've been at Complexly that has surprised you in terms of I guess editing?
what do you mean?
Do I mean? Dang it. I guess in terms of I thought you were gonna read my mind, so I only half out of the question. Dang it, Darcy. I can't edit this out. I don't know how. I guess in terms of maybe on a topic or sort of, what is it? What is the word for? Can we scratch this question? We're gonna take this question
Sure.
out. It's gonna be in the recording, guys, because I don't know how to edit video. I'm too old to learn now. Not really, but new question.
Yeah. Have there been any things that have surprised me at Complexly? I could say yes to that generally, for sure. We had a video last May about this biogeographic thing called the Wallace Line, which is like a line that runs through a lot of the islands kind of in Indonesia, where on one side you have like Asian flora and fauna, and then on the other side you have like the kind of Australian flora and fauna, and there's like a pretty sharp line where they like don't cross. Some things cross. Most things historically have not done a lot of crossing. And we made a video about that. That was me just like spitballing in a pitch meeting with my staff writer and my script editor, being like, what if we did like a biogeography episode about this? My script editor has a PhD in the history of paleoanthropology and like is really specifically into Homo floresiensis, the hobbit fossil from Indonesia, and kind of like the whole huge drama that has surrounded that. She's actually writing a book on it, which is really cool. And she was like, oh, okay, I can take that and run with it. And our staff writer was kind of like, yeah, like if you have something outlined, pass it to me. We did this very collaborative thing. And that video was I think it's the fastest growing viewed video in PBS history. And one of our like top 2 Eons videos of all time.
Oh, wow.
It actually went up while I was on my honeymoon, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna see how that video did. And I saw, 4 million views after 2 days. And I was like, did we get something wrong? Did we really screw something up here? This is wild. But no, it just like was a video that happened to do really well. And I don't think any of us thought that it was going to do that well. So that was a big surprise.
Okay, another question. How do you find sort of these ideas like the Wallace Line? Is it like a Wikipedia like link hunt? You just see where it takes you, or
where do ideas come from? When I started writing for Eons, it was so far back in the day that they hadn't done very much human evolution, human origins content. My PhD is in biological anthropology, and I said, okay, I can write you 10, 15, 20 episodes that are like in this space. We can cover this fully. So that was like a great time of low-hanging fruit of writing videos, especially because human evolution content, I think we have found on Eons and on, SciShow and our other channels does really well. Since then, the ideas, I mean, we worked with a lot of freelancers for a long time, and I really enjoyed that because a lot of them, brought their own disciplinary expertise, geology, paleontology, whatever people are really into and passionate about, they were bringing those ideas. There is some now, I would say, Wikipedia rabbit holes for sure, clicking around, like, what is this weird thing? I'm subscribed to stuff like Eureka Alert. So getting science press releases, what's coming out now. I don't know, there's always kind of like topics in the back pocket of things that I would really like to do, but for Eons and for Beasts to some degree, it is so completely dependent on whether there's a story there. Yeah, I don't know. There's this period of time called the Permian that's like right before the Mesozoic starts. And it has so many weird things that are not reptiles and not mammals. They're a secret third thing. They're very weird looking. They're really big. And like, I've always wanted to do some Eons episodes about them, but I have never come up with a story beyond like, look at this guy. He's really weird. Despite all of my Wikipedia rabbit holing and Google Scholar deep dives on occasion. And yeah, it's a little bit of luck and a little bit of just like poking at the idea until something happens. We've also always wanted to do this evolution of hummingbirds thing, but like somebody needs to find one more fossil in like a particular place for us to be able to do this episode, and it just like doesn't exist. So we just have to kind of sit.
Oh no, that's so sad. You just need one more graduate student to do their PhD on hummingbird evolution so they can finish it so you can do your episode. So
basically, yeah, it's that the oldest hummingbird fossil is like from Europe, but there are no hummingbirds there anymore. They're all in the Americas. And there's this question of like, how did they do that? And we don't really know. So that's a thing that an Eons episode always has to have like it has to have some kind of satisfying payoff. Our podcast, we can like sit in the uncertainty and the mystery space a little bit more, but like for YouTube, you have to like promise people you're going to tell them something and then deliver.
Okay. But I appreciate not leaving us with cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shelby, you have a question.
Oop. She disappeared.
Yes. Oh, I hope that I'm back.
Oh yeah, you are. Sorry.
Yeah, wonderful. No, I probably clicked something wrong, and hopefully I can ask a more coherent question this time. But so right now I'm a science writer, and it's all written format. So looking out at other jobs, things like Complexly, which is much more video focused, whether that's TikTok, YouTube. How imperative is it, either in my position or others' positions, is it that like if we're interested in working with Complexly and working with any of these other partners that have a video focus, that we also have evidence of TikToks or Instagrams or YouTubes. And I'm going to be honest, I say this because as much as I would love one day to, help out one of y'all's amazing video companies, I am exhausted at the end of the day. And, good video content is hard. So how imperative is that versus just having good story experience, like you said?
For me, I just need the story experience. Like if you're applying for one of the editorial side jobs, I think that's probably true across Complexly also. Having written for video is a positive, obviously, but it's not something that I necessarily need. For the shows that I work on, like we can shape the voice to fit the video if the story is good. So I don't know. I can't speak for other digital companies, but for Complexly anyway, like if you can tell a good story, and you're applying for like our side of the thing, then that's really all that matters.
It's a relief to hear that at least somebody will not knock me for having like a 10,000 follower Instagram, because that's never happening.
Oh, I look in despair at the job ads that are like, you need to be the jack of all trades and the master of all of them and have 100,000 followers on Instagram. It's like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, some people do, I guess, but that's their full-time job, and it's a full-time job. So
I don't want to ask you to choose favorites, but I am going to ask you to choose favorites. Do you have a favorite episode that you've worked on?
I do.
Yes.
I have a personal favorite Eons episode that I wrote. It's called When Humans Were Prey, and it was about the third episode that I wrote. And every time I watch it, I'm like, I peaked way too soon. That was the one. Everything after that has been just fine. I don't know. I just really liked that episode. I think am I tooting my own horn here? I don't know. I think I did a nice job of taking like, hey, we have some interesting fossils with this predator damage on them, and we've got this like interesting historical like development of this story. And like smushing those two together was like, I don't know, it was like the first time like a true Eons episode clicked for me. So that's my favorite one that I've written. The pandemic that lasted 15 million years was one of my favorites to work on as an editor. It was one of our current staff writer, Farhan Mita's first episodes, one of like the first two or something that he wrote. But it was another one where I was like, this, like in the pitch, he pitched like he pitched way too many things for a single story. This was like, as a new writer, this is like a temptation that people have often, is to go really broad rather than to go kind of like narrow and deep. And there was a piece of this pitch where I was like, what do you mean we've got these like weird endogenous retroviruses stuck in DNA of all of these different mammals that said that there was some sort of weird viral something going on for 15 million years that got into all of these lineages. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is the story. So yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes to have worked on as an editor. I think both of them really share that kind of like strong story focus.
Mm-hmm. So when you get a pitch that may have too much story for one episode, if they're all like good stories, would that turn into like a multi episode kind of series, or is it we're just picking one of them?
Kind of depends. We've never really done like true series or like multi-part things on Eons where you have to have seen one for the next one to make sense. Just because I think like a lot of our audience, hops around, and we like don't want to assume that folks are watching them linearly. So when people pitch stuff like that, it's kind of like, it could be one episode, it could be several that are split, as long as they're split like into discrete stories that we can tell separately. And then like, if they're kind of on the same topic, we obviously want to space them out. Because there's definitely, you can definitely get a little bit punished if people think they have seen the video already, even if they haven't.
And again, if anyone has a question, please ask it. I will keep going. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. What is it? Are there aspects from being sort of a writer for episodes that has helped you as an editor?
Oh, 100%. It's like, I don't know how I would have been as an editor if I hadn't been a writer for Eons first. Just because you get so kind of like used to how the arcs of the stories work, and like what are the specific pieces that you need. Like Eons is pretty specific about the like essential components of an episode. And you have to know them as a writer, you have to know them as an editor. Yeah, but definitely easier to make that transition from having written. And now there are things that, like, when I'm editing a script, that I see so much more clearly than like when I'm in the thick of writing it, where it's like, oh no, we can move these two pieces around here, and then like everything flows a little bit better. Or that detail, I know you love it, it's extraneous, let's get rid of it. Like, yeah, working on both sides of it has been interesting.
Let's see. Oh, as an editor, is there sort of a piece of key advice that you would give your current script writers and like future script writers?
It's the story is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think a temptation, especially folks that are new at pitching, have is I get like a paragraph kind of like exposition or description of something. Like, there was this weird animal, it lived at this time, it did all of these things. And then like at the end of this, I get like 2 sentences that are kind of like, and maybe this actually has a lot to do with, I don't know, the development of the Amazon, this giant wetland, and it really shaped the evolution of this group. And it's like the whole story has somehow ended up in these last 2 lines of the pitch, and people have spent most of the pitch like writing themselves into it. And I feel like that is like my one piece of advice is like, if you are gonna start writing something, if there's a pitch, if it's a script, like, you're gonna spend some amount of time at the top just writing yourself into it, and like being able to kind of like recognize that and like push it aside to get to the story faster is like a pretty important skill to develop.
Yeah. We have about 5 minutes left. It's not last call for questions, but I'm just reminding anyone who might have missed it that you are allowed to ask a question out loud. I would love it. I would prefer it.
There's one in the chat, actually.
Yeah, I see this. Can you apply without fact-checking experience, and where would one go for formal training in fact-checking? I think our fact-checking job postings would want folks who have some fact-checking experience. I know there are like online trainings for fact-checking. I feel like MIT's Knight Journalism School maybe has one that I've seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just put the MIT Knight School of Journalism fact-checking. They have free workshops, like completely free. You do have to apply for them, but they're very easy. It's like, what's your name? What's your email? Why do you want to fact check? You will get in. I can't make a promise. I'm not on their board, but like, I applied, it was quick. I got in. Everyone I know who's applied got in. They're usually over a weekend on Zoom, again, very free. And afterwards, add yourself to their fact-checking database. For real life editors in the real world with editing jobs will check and look for fact checkers based on, you know, your area of expertise. So if you need experience, do that one. It's really good.
I've never done any fact checking. That's literally the only one that I have ever heard of, but like, I'm glad it's good.
And Martina,
how do you maintain work-life balance, especially as a creative person?
Work-life balance since leaving academia has been so good. Complexly as a company to work for is like sign off at 5, you're done. Like, it is like a true 9 to 5. If there's something that didn't get done today, it'll get done tomorrow. We work on YouTube, we're not saving lives. There are no YouTube emergencies. that's, yeah, I don't, it is built-in guardrails for work-life balance. Like there are obviously times where like I'll have to, you know, put in an extra hour at the end of the day just to like get something done by a deadline, but it's like infrequent. Creative, I mean, in terms of the brain side of things though, like, I don't know, if I'm scrolling Twitter over the weekend and I see a, you know, a new paleontology paper, I'm just like, I'll just email it to myself and check it on Monday. I don't know, can't on some level you can't turn the brain off if like you're noodling on like a story idea where you're like, there's something a little off and I still haven't figured it out. But it doesn't feel like consuming and driving the way it does in academia, where like the life of the idea is your whole life.
And we have one last question from the chat. What is this? Oh, where do you think the biggest area for growth in SciComm work is? This commenter feels like in the past 10 years, they've seen SciComm grow so much. So what do you think is next, Darcy?
This is a hard question. The definition of SciComm is so expansive that I don't know. I kind of wonder, is it gonna start to like partition into more like specific skills-based things, versus the kind of like either, you know, institutional based or like government agency based, or I don't know, trying to be like an internet personality thing. I don't know. I mean, I obviously think that like digital media is not going away. So I don't know. I don't know what is next, but I think it is probably going to be online, and we'll see what happens when TikTok goes away.
Thank you, Darcy. And with that, we will conclude this mentor chat. Thank you all for attending. We will have the recording up in about a week. The links that were shared and talked about during this will also be posted with the recording, and I'll throw them in our Slack group. Next month, we will be having the founders of Squid Tunes to talk about science communication and comics, and also maybe about how to get your comic funded, because they have NSF funding. And so once again, thank you everyone, and thank you again, Darcy, for sharing your time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, everyone. You can find me on like Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever.